Welcome to iAMradio7. Today I'm going to be talking about storytelling, and this is the storytelling that happens upstairs. I don't have water. Hold on, I do. 1 second. Okay. Hey everybody. Woo-woo. My objective for these going forward is to have them be real condensed, 20-minute-ish blocks with 4 or less actionable points so you can get out there and do your thing. As much as I like sitting up here and joke telling, I might do that separately. So what is storytelling? This will register differently to you depending on where you are in your own practice of mindfulness. So at any given time, somebody up here is adding narration to what's going on out here. The voice up here sounds like yours, but it's not you, it's learned. And it's sort of trippy when you get up in there and start to look at how you can't really count on that voice to be accurate or honest. Because if you don't have that voice in there telling you what things are, then how will you know? It would be helpful to me if you shouted out where you were in your relationship to your inner voice. Do you notice? Are you like, what the hell? What do you mean thoughts aren't me or mine? Or are you like, yeah, girl, I've been trying to shut them down? Let me know where you're at. So inner narration is a big deal. A big deal. It's the biggest deal for several reasons. One of those reasons is that it determines the quality of your experience. If you have a shitty storyteller, no matter what miraculous, magnificent thing is that's happening around you, you won't enjoy it because the story that your narrator applies to it is generally one that makes you fearful, either that you're not good enough or it's not the right place or and so you could be sitting in paradise, but if you got the narrator up top that is in fear or is in lack, like, it won't feel like paradise. So the narrator is important because, 1, it determines the quality of your experience, but 2, it determines what you think you can do and where you can go next. So your narrator is kind of like upcoming, you can take a right or a left. If it wasn't for that, maybe you would have gone straight. So you have this voice that filters what you think you can do, and if you're listening really closely to it, you might not notice that that's not all that's possible. That's the voice that's like, all right, let's figure out how we can pass off this information to this person who will generally be upset. So rather than thinking like, what if I told them directly, the narrator is already kind of like leading the situation. It's like, look, we know they're going to be unreasonable. Let's stress ourselves out about it and figure out how we'll tell them what we need to tell them. The narrator told you that. That's not exclusive. Like, that's not the way it has to be. So your narrator is important because it determines, and you've got several up there. If you pay attention, you'll see that you have voices who can argue for pretty much any side of any situation. So the narrator is important because it determines the quality of your experience. How do you feel about what's going on right now? And also, what do you think you can do about it? Hello, what's today's topic? It's storytelling. I'm going to tell stories about stories. And when I'm talking about storytelling, what I mean is, how do you interact with your thoughts and what they say about what's happening outside or inside of you? What you think has been modeled to you, what to think about and how to think about it has been modeled to you by the world around you. So what your parents chose to focus on and talk about, what the neighbors did, what school did, what happened on film, television, and the news. All of that shaped how you think about things and what you say about them. It's kind of like if, the real cheesy, like, so how about them, whatever the sports team is. You learn to talk about things because they have been talked about. You learn to think about things because you have heard other people talk about them. So if you're just joining, thank you. If you're just joining, I'm talking about the inner narrator and 3 steps, 3 steps to get up, to loosen its grip on you so you can feel better and make choices in closer alignment to what you really want. So the first step is this one. Go ahead, say it at home. Step 1 is if you notice you're feeling some type of way that isn't the natural state you would see a child in. So children are sort of like, they don't know they should be upset. Similarly, adults would be that way, except that their narration tells them why it's not okay for them to like chill out and enjoy their moment. So if you aren't present, you have a lot of mental activity, or you're feeling some type of way, step 1 to interrupting your inner narration to tell a new story is this. Get curious. Just this one step is enough to loosen or create a little space between you and the thought voice. The thought voice can be super, super convincing, especially if it's always been there. You could be in the shower, taking a walk, doing something on the phone with someone, and you drop into this world, this reality of thinking and contemplating and analysis and replay and imaginary conversation, all this stuff, and you don't even necessarily know. It's kind of like a herd of people come running, and you get swept up in the herd, and you don't realize you're running until a mile or 2 later. So this, helps you call yourself to the present and notice you must be thinking something if you're not feeling great. Okay, step 1. Everyone do it at home. You can also do this with other people when they are using their narrator to speak. So if they're telling you their story, which you know is some drama they keep creating for themselves, rather than buy into the drama or tell them how to fix their drama, give them one of these. See what happens. Someone from the crowd shout. All right, I think it's back. All right, step 2, you say play that back. And my handwriting is not this bad. I write stuff backwards. Okay, great. Thank you. It's back now. All right. Okay, so step 2, you say play that back. So you notice you're not feeling great. You interrupt it by saying, and then you invite your mind to play that back. What are you thinking about? And what do you assume to be true about what you're thinking about? So in step 2, you call to your awareness what you're actually thinking about. Sometimes it's just swimming around. It's not even clear. It's just running and circling and doing stuff. And play that back. You call to your awareness what it is that you're actually saying. What is the story that you're telling about what's happening? I'll give an example. So what you might be doing in that, so you notice here that you're like kind of frustrated or low. And then when you play that back, you're like, oh, I'm thinking about all these bills I have to pay, or I'm thinking about how I messed that thing up 5 years ago and like I should be there and why aren't I there? So you bring it to your awareness. And step 3, my favorite step in all of the things that I'm teaching is really like seeing where something you think is true, you actually can't prove is true. So step 3 is, could it be? And in step 3, you ask like, could there be another way to think about it? So it's really simple. You only need one example, but let's say that you get an email, you're upset. You notice you're upset. You do step 1, you're like, I'm upset. And step 2, you play that back. What are you thinking? Well, it seems like what I'm actually thinking is, that bitch doesn't give a fuck about what I'm doing this weekend. It's going to have me do blah, 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 blah. Step 3, could it be? Say, well, actually, maybe that was the only moment she had to send the email and it's not time sensitive. Maybe she thinks that I'm the best one on the team to handle it, so I was the one she trusted with it. Maybe she doesn't know everything else I have on my plate. And step 3, you open the door for an action that might be revolutionary. So maybe when you got the email before this video, you would have been like, okay, fine, I'll spend the rest of the weekend doing this, motherfucker. Whoa. Step 3, you say, could it be? Could there be a miscommunication? Could I be interpreting it incorrectly? And you respond with an email and you say, hey, Emily, I got your email. It sounds like this is time I can't tell from your wording if this is time sensitive or not. If it is, like, what would be the appropriate time for me to get it back to you? Also, I'm not sure you're aware, but I also have these other projects ongoing and it's my son's birthday this weekend, so it would be best for me if I could get it back to you on Thursday. Step 3 is where you make magic happen because you're not acting off history. You're not acting off your assumptions. The things that you think to think are usually shit. I'm sorry. In general, unless you've practiced thinking imaginatively or creatively or that's never been squashed in you, your first interpretation is usually very limited. It's based in fear and it's disempowering. And if you are feeling some type of way enough to notice like, that's strange, I feel terrible, then it probably is a limited thought with a bunch of assumptions. So then you can go into the situation and say like, could it be? Could there be another way? Could there be an option C? And you take a risk and you ask. I can't tell you the magic that I've made happen in my life through this, where I let all that I could think about the situation like go. She's never been able to hear me say that. She's always upset when I do that. And it's always been this way. And I'm like, well, what if? Could it be that maybe she doesn't know that it hurts my feelings when she does it? Does she know that I don't like to do that? It's so crazy. This is why number 3 is my favorite, because so much of our feelings of like, so many of our bad feelings are from imaginary things. It's sad and it's beautiful. So you really just have to get in there and ask new questions, and you can find all these secret doors where before you were trapped, now there's like all these new places for you to go. The fast pace of life is making many people react without the moment. Right, and so that's a great point. That's something we could go about. Why are we running? Why are we racing? Does that work for anybody? What happens if you stay with your own pacing? Could it be possible other people would be refreshed to see what they could do instead of rush? Could it be that people would respect you for going slow or living a right-sized life? I'll have to see if I can. I saw a quote today or something, I think. I read one, listened to it, about how it was an Aldous Huxley quote, happiness doesn't look like it does on TV. gets much smaller than that. You can only do so many things well. You can only have so many friends that you treat well. You can only have so many people in correspondence. You can only have so many things to take care of. Like, to do it well, life is pretty small. And it does go kind of slow if you want to be there for it and enjoy it. So part of the work on this path is really coming to accept that you're not going to match what you think or thought it would look like, what you thought happiness would look like. I'm not sure what time I am at relative to my 20-minute goal. So I'm going to recap, and if you have anything you want to add, shout it, and I'll circle back to you. So today, we talked about storytelling, and I'm talking about inner storytelling, which is your narrator, which is essentially the thoughts that you hear and sometimes identify with. That means that when you hear a thought, you think it's real. God bless you. I believed all mine. The narrator is important because it determines how you feel in the moment, how you the meaning you apply to things tells you if it's good or bad. And based on that label, you basically feel good or bad. So the narrator is important because it determines how you feel right now. And the narrator is also important because it determines what you think is possible. So, thank you. So when you, I did a post on Medium a few months ago about creating your own reality. I was captaining a spirituality boat. A strong wind came and blew me into the water. And I decided to swim to land. And I put down all the things that were magical, and I had to kind of reconcile life to a very grounded, practical perspective. And I found the same things. It's the same thing. It's basically like, it's around trust. It's around positive expectation. It's around self-love. Like, all the things are the same. Expectations presented in media to us aren't real. People adopt false standards. Remember the word programming. It's for a reason. Yeah. Yes. And so that used to make me feel some type of way. And then I asked some questions. And then I determined, like, could it be possible that, not that it's okay that that's happening, but maybe there's a great opportunity in there for us? Hey, Andrea. It seems like I can only stay functional and helpful if I allow what's happening to be an adventure or a possibility. Otherwise, I'm feeling bad or angry about it. I'm not able to access my creativity. I don't feel as excited to connect with other people. I kind of want to, like, go in a hole. So I don't do that anymore. I let it be an adventure that must be perfect and must, in some ways, be fun and full of love. Doing great, thank you. Nice to see you here. Okay, so I talked about why the narrator is important, and then I gave you your 3 steps. So you would know that your current narrator is not being helpful when you feel less than joyful. To interrupt or create some space from the thoughts, you do step 1. That's interesting. I don't feel good right now. Then you do number 2. You play that back. What are you thinking about? Sometimes you don't even hear the thoughts, but just with the feeling. So what is it that you actually are thinking right now? What are you believing that makes you feel some type of way? Once you see that, see if you can find an alternative interpretation of what's happening, and you'll find that you'll generally find that most things that you're entirely sure about, you actually don't know for sure at all. It's beautiful. So when you ask, could it be? You see, like, could it be that maybe it's this? Could it be that maybe it's that? And that usually reveals another step for you to take, or a possible step or a new step for you to take that you wouldn't have seen if you were busy thinking what you were thinking. Okay, that's all I have for today. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming in. It'll take me, I'm hopeful to improve in my delivery on these so that they're tighter, more useful, faster, etc. Any feedback that you have on what you like, what's working, what could be better, or just general ideas I'm interested in, and also topics that are important to you. Thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. Lovely to see you.